Had to perform some experiments with evolutionary robotics. I had to do some analysis the best way I could. I had to fill in the gaps sometimes. Yeah, I'm not a scientist. I'm a mathematician. I don't believe in numbers
So you developed a
measurement.
software for this research, or the software was already developed?
The software is already developed.
Okay.
You have evolutionary algorithms that are available, neural networks. You can write them as well. It's not. You just have to write it, but they're everywhere. So it's ready available.
And in the past, did you work with temperature sensor, with light sensor, with different types of sensor, or just this is the first
Sensors.
the body?
Basically infrared vision sensors, infrared sensors. But as I say, I haven't done much experimental work. I've been living in my bubble most of the time. Yeah.
I was wondering if you could say more about neural networks and robotics. So you're saying that you can use neural networks that we have in our brain, you can read them and then use that as an algorithm to inform robotics, so that you can have maybe coding for emotion in a robot.
Okay, neural networks are not brain networks.
Okay.
They're like a mathematical analog.
Yeah.
Which means that you have a network of connections and you set a rule.
You said a what?
A rule.
Rule. Okay, yeah.
And there are many different types of networks. No? So you could have some in which two neurons firing together strengthen the link between them. You could have learning algorithms. That's used in a lot of technology now, learning in where you kind of think before. You kind of understand the process mathematically and you design a network that can, for example, for speech recognition software that you might have used, you have like a target sound and an input, which is the word, and then through calculations, the network kind of learns your voice. The ones I've been using, they don't have a method. They just have like a connection. So if you have one neuron attached to eight other neurons, the value of the one here will depend on the value of this one, and it might have recursive links. But there's many different models, and for example, I spoke about neuromodulation, which means that there are variables affecting. So it's not one thing. It's very open, and it's loosely inspired on human brain, but it's not like a one-to-one thing.
I was wondering, you were saying that you're defining emotion as preparedness for action. So if you're about
to change in preparedness.
Change in preparedness for action. So if you're about to give a talk, you're nervous because you know that it's a specific thing you're giving a talk, or if you're on your way to a funeral, you anticipate the feeling, so your body starts preparing for sadness. But what have you noticed, how do you change in preparedness for a dance that you don't know what the dance is going to be like, or is there just a generic
normally you can anticipate, but actually your readiness is not anticipate the talk, so I'm going to go to the right mode for talking. There is not a direct thing. There's indirect things, so you can breathe, meditate for a little bit. And the same way you have lots of somatic practices that allow you to change. No, we humans, we have developed technologies to change our readiness, but it's not something that we can do. And emotion for centuries have been spoken as a bad thing, because sometimes it works, but other times it doesn't work. You're sad, and you shouldn't be, so it's not controlling your own emotion, controlling your own state, so that you can behave to fulfill your goals is a big problem. And we don't have, and that's why it's two different control systems in a way. There's this autonomic control and posture as well, which is normally habit and unconscious, but you can also develop conscious ways to control posture. But yeah, so Yeah. No, it's it.
Yeah. I understand your theory and the technology and so on of the work you're doing, but have you, in terms of practice or practical aspects of the work, have you actually worked with a physical robot? Have you tried to dance or improvise with a robot that has had embodied the control methods, the mathematics, the neural networks, the AI, or whatever you've been working with?
I wish, but I'm
okay.
just too lazy. But I mean, like, yeah, I wish. Yeah, that would be a great project. But
under how to say, if you amputated, you have already robot arms or cybernetic arms where there's where you can move through it, or is that already somewhere crossover there, or something where towards what you're gesturing, or is it something I wonder, or is this something?
well, I've seen some really amazing work on prosthetics. So it's not like the old, like it's not like they really. They have, they can really adapt to the pressure you put, and they're really great. They wouldn't have this property, I say. No, I mean, the fact that you know exactly what the dynamics have to be doesn't mean that is rigid. No, like water, for example, you can know about the dynamics of water. And how the dynamics of water will change with temperature, but it doesn't mean that water is fixed. So yeah, like we were talking with Kevin, especially about fascia, which is like the connective tissue, and this is like very important, I think, for emotion. How our states are affected by the properties of fascia. They wouldn't have that but it wouldn't be a problem, I think, if you have a prosthetic arm and you're tense in all your body, but your arm is not tense in that same way. I think it still be a pretty functional thing to have that prosthetic arm.
That clarifies a lot. Thanks.
You're talking about what's the term? Not efficiency function. The thing you have in a model, in a system to actually make it learn or make it so you have to reach some goal, etc. Which is important to any kind of. What do you do in dance specifically, like improvisation? What is the goal? Like how would you, if you need to train a goal? There is a robot that improvises. I think where is it in California? I forget which university now, but it does very simple things like try to synchronize with others. I mean, they don't really have some interesting task. I mean, what happens when you improvise?
I've never really thought very carefully about a robot improvising.
No, but that's just human improvising. If the models you're using for robots are applied to humans, then you need to define some. If the models that robotics are relevant to humans, then if you improvise, and if every time you have one of those models, you have to define a certain target, certain thing that you will compare to saying, oh, that was successful, that's not, or what is it in improvisation when there's like no choreography, there's no.
Well, for me, I started dancing like 8 years ago, and that clarified science. So I find that in improvisation we're working with this state in which you are, and so it helped me clarify. I didn't have that theory before I started dancing. So how can fit back into the dancing? I don't know. I think you need like dance expert. Like I don't find the need so much in dancing to be informed by science in a way. Like some people, science can give a lot to dance, but dance can be inspired by a lot of things. And so for me, the way has been from dance into science more than from science into dance. And I'm not dancer as someone that has a choreographic approach.
Asaf,
Last
an
question.
interesting question, because it's just a short comment. Because you spoke about targets and improvisation in the same phrase, but perhaps improvisation is precisely about missing targets and opening up other options. So in that case, it would be a paradox if you could think of it
Yeah.
in this way.
Well, I mean, I could think of a fitness function. For example,
fitness function,
if I could measure how someone is responding to a dance, which is going back to Steve Batt's theory, when you do bad improvisation, when there is no connection between that energetic body, that changing energetic body, and the movement you're doing, when the movement is taking impulses randomly, and then people are like, what is this? And he calls that cognitive dissonance. And if you could measure that, or when you're watching something and it's like, okay, I'm getting it, I don't know what's happening, I can't explain. So if you could measure that, the thing with evolutionary algorithms is you need millions of trials. So you have to make it automatic. If you need a person all the time to be watching and kind of measuring, you would need or millions of people or a long time to do that. But there could be a measure. But I mean, what is good dancing? It's a question, no? It's a question of values and of
But isn't responsiveness maybe a thing which would work into it? So of course you have, when you have improvisation, you don't have some target or some pressure or whatever, you kind of measure it. So if you do a movement and the robot, let's say, or the robotic arm is responding in an accurate or in a way which we kind of can, where we could say, okay, there's a connectiveness. So we're improvising together.
Yeah.
Because that's also what you have in contact improv, like, okay, I can improvise and she can improvise on her own, but if it's contact improvisation, we kind of, even if we don't touch each other, but we interact, and the interaction will be maybe the thing on the measurement scale.
Yeah.
If you
Yes,
put the
so
scale.
if you say, okay, good contact improvisation dancing is that the partner is enjoying the dance and is getting into the dance, then you will go, okay, that's good dancing, I can measure that wherever. The other thing I said, it was from an observer point of view, but you can say I don't care about observers. This is just my dance, and whether it makes sense to someone watch. And you could have many other, like, depends what is good dancing for you. You could have some evaluation and then parameters that you can change, and if you have enough time, because that's the thing, if you have 1,000 parameters, then you might need
Or you do
200.
an experiment where you do the arm, you don't show the rest of the body, you just show the robot arm and it's covered in something, and if you have test trials and if they don't know if it's like a robot dancing with them or a human.
But the problem is that humans are bad dancers as well. That's the
that's
question.
true. But if they cannot distinguish, if they can't say, oh, that was a robot.
This
and
was
that
actually
you.
done
Yeah.
slightly similar to what you said.
Yeah.
So if you have to imitate, so it's a dance, it's a simple imitation dance. So if the robot imitates you too well, which we can do today because we can do very perfect imitating, then people think it's a robot. If the robot imitates you but a little bit bad, then they think it's a human.
Yeah, cool.
It would be like a
Which is what
contact
kind of
improvisation Turing test.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's what they did actually. That's how they called it.
It's also arguable if people would not think that two people dancing contact improvisation together and each having a really strong energetic connection to themselves but dancing in each other's environment would not be a satisfying improvisation. To give a metaphor, there's this Belgian artist, Mark van Roomst, who made a performance where there's two solos happening on a stage and a wall between them, so the performers can't see each other, and there's an audience seeing both all the time. The audience makes the connections. They're each very strong, the connection between them that they share a choreographer. But we like the performance of this interaction. So who says that there needs to be an energetic connection in CR? Oops.
But surely in improvisation, you're working on the basis that the person you're dancing with or the other people you're dancing with are self-aware. So regardless of how many false feedback senses, how human-like the robot is, how android-like, if it doesn't have self-awareness, if you're aware that the thing you're dancing with isn't aware, then is it the same experience?
I had a great dance with a light pole the other day. My partner,
Which one? That one?
That's my partner sitting next to you. She
Yeah,
called it a
Fred
duet.
Astaire did with the
I
Coke
wasn't
brand
watching.
as
Say
well,
what? Say what? Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
what I mean.
You also
Inanimate
have in one of
objects.
these- You also have in one of the folders a thing from Steve which says that with one person you have a duet, a contact duet.
The flow.
With two you have a quartet.
But somehow by this neural thing, like robots develop self-awareness because they have to. I just taking this example of robot babbling. You know, it's
Developing language.
well, they took the babbling like for the development of babies, like they blah 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 until they find a word. But they do it with movement, so they attach the movement of the arm, the weight that is carrying, and the sensor, the vision sensor, and the robots just try several random millions of movements until they take self-awareness of the relationship between weight, size, and movement, joint, which is they're doing this kind of Feldenkrais exercise for hours for learning how to do the movement. It's exactly the same movement. So there's some level that we call they have proprioception of their movement and they learn through movement and through error because if they try to put the cup here, then they will learn and will do it again until they do it. So at some level, in this cognitive, very conductive way of understanding the body and how we behave and we learn, robots have some level of self-awareness as humans.
The first time they started developing electronics, they had like this system where some it was like a electricity plant, and someone had to call, get a measurement. Okay, what's the measurement? Okay, yes, back. And then they invented the first robot, which was an automatic signal. And they drew a picture of a robot. They were like, wow, this is... So the thing with robotics and intelligence is that, once you cross the frontier, you go, no, intelligent phones, are they self-aware? If you said that 100 or playing chess, no? Oh, if a machine could play chess, that would be intelligent. But once you have it, it's like, it's just a machine playing chess. So last sentence. So the question is experience a natural phenomenon? And maybe John will speak about experience and whether it's something that you can scientifically.
It's a beautiful transition.
So,
Thank you.